I'm Ryan from ExtremeTerrain.com, and this is my review and installation of the Rugged Ridge Performance Off-Road Winch fitting all 1987 and up Wranglers. Today we are going to talk through the installation of this winch, which I am going to give a very simple 1 out of 3 wrenches. Chances are you're going to be able to get this installed on your Jeep and working in about an hour. That's if you already have a winch plate or a winch-ready bumper. If you have to install a winch plate or a winch-ready bumper, of course you'll have a little bit more time into the install, but we'll talk more about the installation in just a minute. We're also going to talk through some of the features and the construction of this winch. This winch from Rugged Ridge is available in a couple of different configurations. They're available in both a 9,500 and a 10,500 pound pulling capacity, and they're available with a synthetic line or with a steel cable. Now, synthetic line is a little bit more expensive than steel. However, in my opinion, it has some benefits which make it worth the additional cost. One, synthetic line is of course flexible, it's not going to kink, and it's a lot lighter to drag up a muddy hill when you do get your Jeep stuck. But probably most important, synthetic line, while it will stretch under load just like a steel cable will, it doesn't store that energy. So if a synthetic line breaks under load, it's not going to snap back and hit somebody, which can of course damage components or injure a person. That's why, in my opinion, it is worth a little bit of extra money for synthetic line. However, a steel line does require a little bit less maintenance. You don't have to change it as often. It is a little bit more durable, but again, it is a little bit more dangerous if it were to break under load, and it is a little bit heavier. So the decision of synthetic line or steel cable is completely up to you. As far as sizing your winch goes, you are going to want to go based off the rule of thumb of 1.5 times the loaded weight of your Jeep. So if you have a big, heavy 4-door JK with tons of armor on it, you are going to want to go with the larger 10,500 pound winch. If you have a light 2-door rig, then maybe the 9,500 pound is going to be fine for what you're using it for. Now, overall, a winch like this is great for self-recoveries. If you get yourself out in the woods, you get high-centered, you get buried in mud, you can stretch out the line, attach it to a tree, of course using a tree saver, and be able to get yourself out of that sticky situation. You can of course also attach these to a friend, whether you're stuck and you're using them as an anchor, or if a buddy's stuck and you're getting them out of a sticky situation. And a winch like this is going to save you some money over those top-tier winches on the market that are really designed for those long, hard pulls, that heavy use every single weekend, and that has some additional features. So this is going to save you some money off of those winches. However, it's still going to get you out of those tough spots on the weekends. As far as construction goes, this is what I would consider to be a pretty basic winch. You have the winch body here. It has a clutch mechanism so that you can put it in free spool mode and very easily pull the winch line out without having to power it out. That makes it much quicker to pull line out and attach it to whatever anchor point you're going to be using for your pull, and then you simply put it back in engage mode, and it will then again power in and out to get you unstuck. Over here you have the solenoid box, which can be mounted. It has brackets to be mounted right on top of this winch, or you could of course remote mount the solenoid box, but you would have to extend a couple of your wires if you decided to do that. However, this is a waterproof solenoid box, so having it mounted right up on the front of the Jeep where it's exposed to water, either on the trail or just rainwater, is going to be just fine. It's not going to hurt it. With this winch setup, you're also going to get a fair lead. In this case, we have the winch with the synthetic line on it, so we have a Hawes fair lead. But if you get the winch with the steel cable, you will get a roller fair lead, which is more applicable for that steel cable. Regardless of which winch cable you choose or which pulling capacity, you're going to get the same handheld remote that has a very simple toggle switch in and out, although it does feel pretty substantial as far as a winch remote goes. Some of them can feel really cheesy. This one actually doesn't feel too bad to me, and it has a nice long line on it, which is also important. You want this to be able to reach from your winch all the way up into the driver's seat if you need to actuate it while you're actually driving, or if you're outside of the vehicle, you want to be able to stand far to the side of the winch cable, work the winch, but be outside of the danger zone if that line were to snap. Or even if you're using synthetic line, you still want to stay out of the way. You have heavy moving machinery, so being able to have a nice long lead on your remote keeps you safe. As I said before, the install for these is a very simple 1 out of 3 wrenches. You're going to be able to get it done in about an hour, assuming your Jeep is already ready for a winch. That means you either already installed a winch plate or you've already installed a winch ready bumper. Now that is going to be a prerequisite for a winch. You can't just drill a couple of holes in the front of your Jeep and mount a winch like this. Of course, there's a lot of stress on this winch, so you need to make sure it's attached properly. But if you have a winch ready bumper or you already have a winch plate installed on your Jeep, this install is very, very simple. All you need to do is use the included hardware to bolt the winch down to the winch plate or that winch ready bumper, bolt your fair lead in place on your fair lead mount. You'll stretch your cable through your fair lead and attach the included hook. And as far as wiring goes, all you need to do is use the included brackets to attach your solenoid box right on top of the winch, attach a couple of cables onto the backside of the winch motor here, and finally attach your long cables from the solenoid up to the battery, and you're done. It's really all there is to it. A couple of connections at the battery and bolting this down to the body of your Jeep, and you're finished with the install. This is, again, very, very simple. You won't need any specialty tools, just some traditional hand tools to get this done, and about an hour's time. These winches are going to be in the middle toward the bottom of the price range as far as a winch goes. Of course, the synthetic line winches are always going to be more expensive, and the larger pulling capacity, if you decide to go with the 10,500 pound, of course, is more than the 9,500 pound. But in general, a rugged ridge winch is going to be right in the middle to the lower end of the price range for a winch. And generally with recovery equipment like this, you do get what you pay for. So if you're somebody who's going to be out there on the weekend, occasionally going to be using your winch a couple times a year, helping a buddy out, maybe pulling some shrubs out of the backyard, this winch is going to be just fine. However, if you are going to be out there every single weekend doing those really long, hard pulls, maybe you want to spend a little bit more money and take a look at one of the winches that has a few more features. So if you're looking for a self-recovery winch for the front of your Jeep to get you out of those sticky situations when you're out on the trails on the weekends, this is going to be an option that will save you some money over those top-tier winches on the market, but still get the job done. So that's my review of the Rugged Ridge Performance Off-Road Winch fitting all 1987 and up Wranglers that you can find right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.